Hello, welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be about how to get over a breakup from a relationship that was really long. So, how to get over a really long relationship. If you want to hear about that, stick around and yeah. Thanks. So, starting with the first phase, which was denial, which is denial or shock first and then denial after. We need to start with those two. I wasn't in denial at all. On my end, I wasn't in denial because I felt like the relationship had been over for a long time. And that was only because we were so off and on. And when I wanted to be committed, he didn't want to be committed. And it just never worked out. It just didn't work out. It worked out for like the beginning, like the first years. And then after, I want to say the fourth year or fifth year, then it started to be off and on, like a lot of off and on. My family didn't know whether we were together or not. They didn't know if we were like hanging out all the time because we were together or we were on a break. So it was very confusing for people around us. So I was like, imagine how I was in it when people were confused. We got to a point where we just broke up and just hung out all the time, and we were just best friends, just hanging out all the time. And after getting out of this relationship and starting therapy, I learned that that's a really big red flag. It's very unhealthy if you really plan on breaking up with someone and then you just jump back into your normal routine without the physical aspect of it. It's still, there's no way you're going to in your head accept that you have been broken up with or you are apart from one another. So even though we broke up, we just hung out all the time. When I say hang out all the time, I mean daily, still staying the night, still hang out 24/7, just without the physical aspect. And then when a physical aspect did come back in, it would be like, oh, we're back together again. So the off and on would happen. But when the physical aspect wasn't there, we were still spending all of our time with one another. So we had to break that cycle. And that to me is why it didn't take me a long time to get through the shock or the shock or denial phase, because I wasn't in denial, because I was like, this has been going on for so long, off and on. So also, I feel like the stages are different for the type of relationship you had. So my relationship was not healthy in the end. So I feel like my stages are maybe different for you. So just think about how your relationship was. If it was a very healthy relationship through and through from the beginning to start, or started bad but ended great, but then you guys just went your separate ways in a healthy way, the way you handle the breakup is going to be healthier for you because it was positive and you guys left on a positive note. When you leave a negative relationship in a negative way, an unhealthy way, or you leave an unhealthy relationship in a negative way, it may take a little bit longer. That's just how it goes. But I know that either way, whether it's healthy or not, you go through the stages. They just may not last as long or be as difficult to get through. So the next stage would be the mad phase. Oh, that phase. I feel like that phase ended for me like 3 years ago, and I've almost been out of this relationship for 4 years, which is, I never thought I would be able to say that. I never thought I was going to be able to say that. Yeah, almost 4 years. So it just makes me like, it's not that the relationship was horrible the whole time. It's just that it was unhealthy in the end. And you know, sometimes you just grow apart from someone and you want to grow with them, but you grow apart. And then unhealthy things happen. You find out that that's just not what you thought it was, or you just grow into a better version of yourself, and maybe they don't want to come along for the ride, or vice versa, you don't want to come along for their ride. that they're who they're growing into, and then you guys just have to come to an adult decision and realize that you guys are not meant for one another, or maybe just not healthy for one another at this time and place. The mad phase lasted for me. I don't know how long it lasted for my ex, but it lasted for me for a while because so many emotions came up in therapy. I was already in therapy, thank God, when I got out of this relationship, because it helped me so much. And I feel like that's also why my stages went faster, because I was already in therapy, learning myself, changing. And I think that's why the relationship ended too, because I was changing so much so fast and realizing so many things. When you start to learn yourself and get back to yourself, and you realize some things, you open your eyes to some things that you need to change. And sometimes it's the relationship that you're in. And I had never been in relationships when I was really younger, like throughout high school, dating people, not like serious ones like that. I got into my serious relationship after high school, and that was my only one, and I stayed in it. So that was the only relationship I had ever had. So there's a lot that goes into it, but when you get out of something that you've been in for that long, and you were in it since you were younger, you learn yourself, you realize things, you're still learning, you're growing into a new person all the time, because you're getting older and maturing. And it was just beautiful to see, even though the relationship had to end. I was still so happy to see how I was growing and how he was growing. It was just hard and sad that it got unhealthy in the end, that the relationship just had to get unhealthy. That was the only sad part to me, because I think in a perfect world, everyone wants to break up on a good note. They don't want to end it on something so horrible, or something that would hurt you or drain you or make you feel like you're in danger or unhealthy. And for me, that's the only thing that I would have wanted to change, is just that it not in an unhealthy way, an abusive way. But the mad phase definitely lasted longer because of how negative and unhealthy it ended. So it lasted for a while. Even with me starting to talk to a new person, I would still find myself saying angry things. And then so I was like, no, I'm not ready to talk to anyone new yet, until I could not say anything that made me mad. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready then. I'm ready. And the fact that I'm in a new relationship now, and I gave myself that space and time to not be with anyone, I think that's very much needed. Like when people just get back into, and this has to do with how you get over, all of this does, but this is very important, taking that time to yourself and learning yourself, especially like I said, if you were in it when you were younger, just even if you weren't young, you were in something so long, take that time to yourself to get to know yourself again, see if you lost pieces of yourself. And I don't even say that they're lost. It is you hid or suppress certain parts of yourself in that relationship. Sometimes you don't even know. And I know in therapy, I learned so much about myself and learned that I was suppressing so many parts of myself, that I was silenced in a lot of ways. And just having that voice again and getting back to myself really helped me. And having that space and time to myself without being in another relationship, not hopping from one relationship to the next, really, really helped. So taking that 2.5 years to just be by myself was very much needed. And I'm not saying take 2 years, take a year. Sometimes it takes you like 90 days. I don't know. It could take you 2 weeks. No, I don't really think it'll take 2 weeks. But I know, don't quote me on it. If you feel like you're already healed in 2 weeks, you do what you want. But I know that the time, in my opinion, helps so much. And then the emotional roller coaster phase, I feel like that started from the moment that I decided that I wasn't going to be a part of the relationship. It started an emotional roller coaster because I was so used to the back and forth that I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I love this person. I thought I was going to marry this person and build a family with this person. And now I'm so scared because that's not going to happen now if I don't be with this person, because this is who I knew I was going to be with forever. That's my thinking at the time. So I was just like, okay, no. It doesn't matter what they did. It doesn't matter what they did. You need to be with them. And then it was like, no, they hurt you too bad. No, you've changed so much. They're better off. You're better off. You want the best for them. They want the best for you. Or even if they don't want the best for you, want the best for them. So just stand your ground. You got this. You guys can just work in a friendship later on. Because at this point I was like, there's no more holding on to the friendship. Everything has to stop. Because in the past, we would hold on to the friendship basis and be like, we're broken up, but we're still great friends. But great friends that hang out every day, that's not what you do. So I had to stop all of that. I had to set some really serious boundaries, and that was hard for my ex to accept. But it had to be done. So that caused an emotional roller coaster too, because I felt bad. And then I would be like, okay, your boundaries are too strict. What are you doing? You're doing too much. You don't have to do all of this. But I wasn't doing too much. I was doing enough. So the emotional roller coaster was an emotional roller coaster for sure. So I definitely went through that phase. I don't want to say it lasted forever. It lasted longer than I expected it to, because I was like, I'm so used to this back and forth. But that's why it lasted so long, because I was so used to it. So I was like, it was a push and pull with my emotions. And also because in the beginning I wasn't ready to set those serious boundaries. I was like, no, I got this. I'm in therapy. I said I'm done. We broke up. We can still hang out. We can still do this. No. So I had to set strict boundaries and let nothing. It had to be like a really strict breakup, especially with the unhealthiness and just the unhealthiness of how it ended. I couldn't do it the same way again. So I couldn't end it the same way that I had before. So that's that. And then the acceptance phase was very beautiful to me because I was accepting myself. So it was very easy for me to accept that this had ended. But it was sad in the end because I was like, I had to accept that this person is no longer a part of my life in that way. And it was very hard because you go from it's like one of the stages of loss and grief, because when you break up with someone, it's kind of like, not that they're dead, but they are no longer a part of your life like that. So you're grieving them in a way. And to have someone not a part of your life that was such a huge part of your life, no matter if they're healthy or not, you're still going to miss them until you heal. And missing that person and that friend was very hard for me, because I was like trying to be like, no matter what, I can stand my ground and still have this person as a friend, because they're one of my best friends. And no matter if they hurt me or not, I still want to just be there for them, and I want them to be there for me. And that was hard for me. And that's also part of the emotional roller coaster, but also part of the acceptance that no, it can't be that way anymore. So that was hard, but I dealt with it by staying in therapy, journaling, getting back to myself. That's how I handled all of these stages. Just getting back to myself and having the time and space to do so. So I literally just honed in. I didn't even really talk to my friends. I did talk to them about the breakup, but not until like way after it happened. And I'm saying months because I was so ashamed of how and what I let happen in the end of the relationship when it comes to how unhealthy it got. I was just ashamed of myself that I allowed it, and I also thought I deserved it. So I didn't want to tell anybody. And a lot of people still don't know like how it ended, and that's okay. But I had to tell my family because there was a there was a point where they just needed to know for my safety, and I had to accept that, okay, this is over, because now your family's involved. Now they know what happened. So, and it's not that my family has a say over my life, it's just they knew. So I had to really stay true to myself because I had people who love me and care about me looking out for my well-being, and they were like, no. And they would hold me accountable. That's all. And I needed that because abuse can only live in the dark. And when you start talking about it, it can't live anymore. So I had to stand my ground, keep my boundaries, and not put myself in that situation anymore, or like put myself in a situation to where it could ever happen again. So the acceptance was, I think, one of the hardest stages for me, because I'm like, on one hand, it's sad and hurtful, but then I'm like, I forgive this person. What if it never happens again? And then on this hand, I'm like, no, it happened. Other things have happened. And also, you guys have grown apart, all this other stuff. Just accept it. It's better for both of you. Can love them from afar. You wish them well and accept that. And I had to do that. And last, it was like disengaged phase. I don't think I went through that. Like disengaged, I still don't even get that. So I like to call it like the hope phase. Like, there's hope for my future. I'm not going to be alone forever. It happened really fast for me. Not because people wanted to date me or anything, even though I didn't expect to get people wanting to like date me or talk to me, because I was like, I don't know how to talk to people. I've been in a relationship all this time, and when I wasn't in a relationship, even with the off and on, I just didn't accept people's numbers because I was just like, I'm not even gonna give them the time of day because I'm always hanging out with my best friend, who's Max. So I had to stop doing that and had to be open to people, just friends, because I didn't even have friends at the time. So I'm not just talking about like the opposite sex, just I didn't even have a group of girlfriends because of this relationship and what I had allowed to go on and all of that. So I had to just learn to make friends, and I had hope finally in the end. And then therapy helped with that because I had the lowest self-esteem at the beginning of the process. And I can sit here today and say that I'm so proud of myself, that my self-esteem has grown so much because of my self-work. And it was getting better at the end of that relationship, but it was hard because I was fighting against something I was trying to heal from every single day. So healing plus fighting against it while trying to stay in it. So that's why I had to get out so I can truly heal. And I think it's one of the best decisions I've made in my entire life so far. So my hope grew with my self-esteem and my, like, just going through my self-love journey. And I made the best group of friends that I have still to this day, and I love them so much. And they knew who they are, and my sisters and I grew closer. And yes, and my best friend and I grew closer, and my best friend's sister and I grew closer. So yes. And then my best guy friend and I grew so much because he was one of the people who knew while I was in it. Like, he knew while I was in it, but I didn't have to tell him. And it was, I don't want to say, I just think it was very beautiful because I didn't have to tell him. He knew, but then when I did tell him, he was so accepting and non-judgmental, and I finally had an ear to hear me without having judgment. Before it ended, he knew what was going on, and then it did end, and he's been there for me so much through it all, and I really love him and thank him so much for just never judging me and being a part of my stages of grief or just getting over a relationship, because having someone to talk to about what you're going through really helps. So having a good friend, I would say, is very important when trying to get over someone. And if you are close to one of your family members who do not judge you, that would be a good person too, just because sometimes you need to know from the outside looking in, because sometimes you could be so stubborn or just so hurt that you can't see. So I loved having my best friend. He was amazing in that area, and he's just amazing in every area, but I am so thankful that I had him along the way, because it's really helped me so much. And I honestly don't know what I would do if I didn't have anyone to tell at all, because without him knowing, no one would have known until the end. Like, until after it was already over and I was finally like comfortable enough to tell my story, but he knew. So it was very, yeah. So all in all, I hope that answered the question. I had to go that in depth because getting over someone is, I guess it's simple, but for some it may not be. It just depends on who you are. But those stages really do exist. So I would say getting over a long relationship just takes patience, and unconditional love for yourself, and just love for whoever you're getting over as well, and accept them for who they are, and not judge them either. Even if you've been hurt, the lack of judgment really helps. Like, just know they hurt you, and you don't want to have that kind of person in your life, but you just keep it at that. Loving yourself, and if you did love that person, loving them through the breakup. Not saying like shower them with love or anything, but come from a place of compassion, because then you'll have like compassion with yourself and you'll have compassion for them, and it will relieve a lot of the anger that comes from breaking up with someone and sadness, and it will move faster. Having someone to talk to, I highly recommend therapy or counseling, even group counseling if you don't want one-on-one. It really helps just to have a group of people that you can talk to, or just someone you can go to. Journaling, and like I said, just working on yourself and allowing yourself to feel all of those stages, because it's very normal and very natural. And like I said, taking the time. That time to yourself will change your life. And it just goes back to the video, my first video of the year. Removing toxic people from your life will change your life forever in the best way. And yeah, that's it, you guys. I hope that answered it. And I know this was I don't want to say a Debbie Downer video, because this was very positive. And I think stuff like this should be talked about more. And if you want to talk about something else that you want me to dedicate a video to, please leave the question in a comment below. Like this video if you liked it. Share it with someone who needs this advice. And thank you again for watching this video, you guys. Thank you so much for your support. I'm so grateful for you. And if you are in an unhealthy relationship, you are worthy. You don't have to stay in it. And even if you're in a healthy relationship but you feel like you've grown apart, you don't have to stay. Stand your ground. Put up your boundaries. Respect yourself and them, and just stay true to you. And love yourself through it. That's all you have to do, is love yourself through this. You got this. You can do it. You're worthy. And you can do anything. So that's that. I hope you guys are having a great morning, afternoon, or night, whatever time of day it is when you watch this video. And I will talk to you guys very, very, very soon.